Right now, a quiet but critical decision is unfolding in Ottawa. As Canada stares down U.S. trade pressure, the government is reevaluating its multi-billion-dollar commitment to the F-35 fighter jet. This opens the door to a radical alternative, the Swedish Gripen, which offers a path to technological independence. But behind the scenes, there are warnings of a red card from Washington, a threat to cut Canada out of the Allied defense network if we choose our own path. This immediate crisis forces a much larger question. In an age of guarded technology, who actually decides who gets to own the future of speed? To answer that, we need to go deeper than the political headlines. I'm going to equip you with the specific technical evidence and strategic frameworks required to see the forces at play. But before we can properly evaluate this choice between jets, we have to look backwards. The entire game of Allied air power is governed by an invisible architecture built 50 years ago. To understand today's choice, we must first understand the system that wrote the rules. Before we can answer who controls the future, we have to understand the system that controls the present. For decades, the bedrock of alliances like NATO and NORAD has been a single, powerful idea: interoperability. At the heart of this world is a specific architecture called Link 16. This isn't just a radio, it's the secure, encrypted internet of the battlefield, the digital nervous system of the entire Western military alliance. It allows planes, ships, and ground forces to share one identical, real-time picture of a conflict zone. This shared consciousness is the absolute gateway to effective coalition warfare. Access is everything. The core component, a system known as MIDS, is the non-negotiable price of admission. Without it, a platform is flying blind, a ghost outside the machine, invisible to its partners. And, crucially, access to this network is not automatic. Any nation wishing to integrate its platforms must, as a matter of protocol, receive U.S. approval. This creates a quiet but absolute layer of control over the military capabilities of every single ally. This brings us to the iron logic of the default path. The conventional wisdom is powerful because it's simple. For a nation like Canada, the only rational choice is to adopt platforms like the F-35 that were born and bred inside this digital ecosystem. To choose anything else seems like a deliberate step away from the alliance itself. A strategic heresy. This is the architecture of the present. A stable, predictable system. But what happens when this entire carefully constructed network is confronted by something it was never designed for? What happens when speed itself becomes so extreme that the network simply can't keep up? That integrated digital ecosystem we just discussed feels unbreakable. But outside of that logic, a fundamental technological disruption is quietly taking place, led not by the United States, but by the United Kingdom. Today's best jet engines have hit a wall. It isn't the sound barrier. That was yesterday's problem. Today, it is a heat barrier. Above approximately Mach 3, the air being forced into the engine gets so hot from sheer compression that adding fuel barely produces more energy. At these speeds, the air itself becomes an enemy. The British answer is a revolutionary hybrid engine, Sabre, that breathes air in 3 distinct ways. It functions as a conventional jet turbine for takeoff. As it accelerates, it transitions into a ramjet for efficient supersonic flight. To push beyond Mach 5 and towards a target of sustained Mach 7 flight, it morphs again, becoming a scramjet. That compressed air problem is only half the thermal battle. Inside the engine, designers have to tame superheated intake air. Outside, the airframe is being cooked by friction. At hypersonic speeds, friction heats an aircraft's skin to over 2,000 degrees Celsius, a temperature where structural steel softens and loses its strength. This pushes engineers right up against the limits of known materials. Sabre's design counters this extreme environment by using advanced composites and, in an act of elegant engineering, actively cooling its own skin by running frigid fuel through it. That same network that saves the structure also preheats the fuel for more efficient combustion. According to the official UK government's Sabre Program Evaluation Report, published in 2023, this is no longer just a paper concept. The report confirms that the engine's most critical component, a pre-cooler that can chill incoming air from over 1000 degrees Celsius to 150 degrees in a fraction of a second, has already been successfully tested under Mach's Chief 5 representative conditions. Prototype hardware has also demonstrated that the crucial transitions between the engine's different modes are viable. The core technology works. But to focus only on the engineering, as remarkable as it is to miss the point entirely. The truly disruptive part isn't the engine itself. It's the blueprint it provides for how a middle power can achieve technological sovereignty and what that means for a country like Canada. It means that in this ITAR-centered niche of next-generation air-breathing hypersonic propulsion, the established architecture of control is being deliberately worked around. A revolutionary engine is one thing. A calculated shift in who gets to exercise power over that engine is another. Historically, the United States has maintained its strategic edge through powerful legal frameworks. Export control tools like the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, or ITAR, act as gatekeepers for sensitive military technology, especially in advanced aerospace and missile systems. They keep allies in a defined technological orbit, interoperable, yes, but also structurally dependent on American components and ultimately American approval. But the core of the British hypersonic engine program, the critical air-breathing propulsion line, has been built outside that system by design. This is not an accident. It is the core of the strategy. The engine was developed under sovereign national funding with sovereign design, and it uses no critical U.S. components or intellectual property. The United Kingdom's position is unambiguous. Development conceived, funded, and executed domestically does not require external permission. Keeping that decisive technology path ITAR free effectively sidesteps the traditional American control framework for this class of capability. And London has backed that stance with structure, not just rhetoric. The effort has been institutionalized through Team Hypersonics UK, anchored by the £1 billion Hypersonic Technologies and Capability Development Framework. Within that national framework, 233 successful static tests of their air-breathing engine do two things at once. They validate that the underlying physics, materials, and systems integration work, and they show that a fully sovereign program can move from concept to repeatable performance without touching U.S.-controlled inputs. That combination, domestic funding, domestic IP, a dedicated national framework, and demonstrated technical performance is what turns this from a one-off lab project into a template. Any state with a comparable industrial base and the political will to ring-fence a program from foreign control can, in principle, follow the same sequence. So if a nation can build the future of speed entirely on its own terms, who really controls the flow of power in that domain? For Canada, that question cuts directly across the story we have been told for years, that between alliance obligations, NORAD and NATO expectations, ITAR-entangled supply chains, and our limited domestic aerospace scale, we have no choice but to live inside American technological custody. The British case shows that even inside that same alliance ecosystem, it is possible to carve out a cornerstone capability on sovereign terms. If you design it that way from day one, it matters because it shows the monopoly on setting the rules for advanced aerospace capability is already fracturing. We now have a working blueprint for technological sovereignty demonstrated in practice by a key ally. And yet, the debate here at home is still anchored to a single pervasive argument that for the sake of interoperability, we have no other choice but to deepen our dependency. That argument is starting to look less like strategic analysis and more like a carefully constructed lie. And when we continue, I'm going to show you the evidence. The moment that lie was used to sabotage Canada's own sovereign alternative. This brings us to the central choice for Canada and to the myth designed to eliminate that choice entirely, the argument you hear, often cloaked in technical jargon, is that the Swedish Gripen is simply not compatible with US and NATO systems. It sounds like a problem of engineering. The real issue is political. The choke point isn't the aircraft. It's access to the secure Link 16 data network. And access to that network is granted or denied by the United States. Here's the claim. The Gripen can't work with the F-35. Reality. In February and March 2026, during a live NATO air policing mission in Iceland, Swedish Gripens flew alongside Danish F-35s. They shared data seamlessly over the very same Link 16 network. The official NATO Allied Air Command confirmed the mission's success, with commanders from both sides reporting effective coordination. The technology works. The myth of incompatibility was debunked, not in a simulation, but in a real-world, high-stakes operational environment. And NATO isn't the only source saying this. Saab, the manufacturer of the Gripen, has consistently stated that the aircraft meets all of Canada's interoperability and security requirements, and that the debate around compatibility is being driven by a politics, not technical limits. In other words, the claim collapses under both operational evidence and the prime contractor's own security assurances. So if it's not about technology, what is it about? It is about control. And the warnings about what happens when Canada considers stepping outside that control have been explicit. In January 2026, the U.S. ambassador to Canada at the time, Pete Hoekstra, stated publicly that if Canada chose Gripen, and I quote, NORAD would have to be altered. This isn't a technical assessment. It's a political signal about who is expected to make the final call on Canada's air defense architecture. A Swedish Air Force commander involved in that very Iceland mission put it even more bluntly. Lieutenant Colonel Johan Lagarde acknowledged that the U.S. holds the ultimate power to deny access to the network. He compared it to a referee issuing a red card to a player, removing them from the game entirely. His exact words, "If Canada is the first country where the US draws the red card, then we have a problem." Translated into operational terms, a Link 16 red card would mean Canada flying with degraded situational awareness inside its own airspace, reduced access to shared targeting and threat data, and a compromised role in both NORAD and NATO operations. This is the political threat made real. Control over the network becomes control over Canada's ability to act. Defense expert Rob Hubert has confirmed this isn't hyperbole, stating that in the current political era, the possibility of the U.S. withholding Link 16 access is something that absolutely could happen. After seeing this, where do you stand? In your view, is interoperability here a genuine technical barrier or a political tool for enforcing alignment at the expense of Canadian sovereignty? Add your perspective in the comments. The discussion there helps sharpen where we take this analysis next. This red card threat is the ultimate expression of control. It's designed to make any alternative seem too risky, too dangerous to even consider. But for a country with Canada's aerospace capacity, the deeper risk may lie in assuming we have no viable sovereign option. What if choosing an independent path doesn't just mitigate political risk, but drives the next wave of domestic aerospace jobs and capabilities? This is what I call the sovereignty dividend, not just a symbolic stand, but a concrete industrial payoff. In this case, we're talking about the potential for something on the order of 12,600 Canadian jobs tied directly to capabilities we actually control. As we continue, we'll move past the threats and examine exactly what that dividend looks like, not as an abstract idea, but as a detailed industrial strategy for Canada's future. So, what is this dividend? It is the sovereignty dividend, a fundamental reframing of a massive defense purchase. Instead of a simple cost, money sent overseas to buy a product off the shelf, it becomes a strategic national investment. The deal is structured to include deep technology transfer, local co-production, and most critically, full sovereign control over the platform's software. This is not a hypothetical. The model is already in use. When Brazil chose the Gripen, the deal enabled their own aerospace champion, Embraer, to co-produce the aircraft under a comprehensive technology transfer program. That created high-value jobs, built a durable domestic industrial base, and even gave Brazil the potential for future exports. A single procurement decision was converted into a national technological asset. Saab has pitched a Canadian Gripen package built on those same core pillars. Their official offer includes building the jets in Canada in partnership with Bombardier, alongside a technology transfer framework and full access to the software stack, so Canada can maintain and adapt the aircraft on its own terms. Saab also commits in its industrial participation plan to reinvest the equivalent of 100% of the contract value back into the Canadian economy through local work, supply chains, and partnerships. On Saab's own numbers, that would support an estimated 12,600 high-tech domestic jobs. Zoom out from one fighter contract and you see the broader sovereignty dividend. Accenture's macro compass economic modeling looked at scenarios where Canada systematically ties major defense investments to this kind of sovereign, offset-heavy procurement strategy. Under those scenarios, the model projects up to 85,000 jobs nationally and roughly a 12% lift in Canada's R&D spending each year. These are projections, not guarantees, but they quantify how a sovereignty-first procurement approach can compound into real domestic capacity over time. That is the sovereignty dividend in its clearest form, the choice to transform a procurement line item into a multi-generational economic multiplier that builds domestic capacity, onshores critical supply chains, and boosts our long-term autonomy. It is not about paying extra for a symbolic independence badge. It is about choosing a procurement model that deliberately turns sovereignty itself into long-run domestic wealth. But the value of this industrial capacity, this sovereign control, is not ultimately measured in jobs or dollars. Its real strategic weight is realized in the one place where Canada's sovereignty is both most fragile and most critical, and that is in the Arctic. In the vast hostile emptiness of the North, the tyranny of distance has always been the ultimate arbiter of power. A quiet, incredibly fast, technological shift is about to break that rule. A RAND Corporation analysis shows that a Mach 5 Plus hypersonic platform can cover 1,000 kilometers in under 6 minutes. That kind of speed turns 1,000 kilometers of northern airspace from a response problem, measured in hours, into a 6-minute dash. In the old model, an unidentified aircraft or missile track appearing 1,000 kilometers out forced a long chain. Detection, classification, authorization, launch, climb, transit north before a Canadian jet could get alongside it. A hypersonic capable platform collapses that chain. From a single point, it can surge across that stretch fast enough to make interception or presence feasible inside a single decision cycle. As a recent CSIS report confirms, this combination of speed, maneuverability, and altitude poses a tremendous challenge to air defense sensors built for a slower, more predictable world, especially in vast regions like the Arctic. In an environment where presence is deterrence, being able to cross that 1,000 kilometer gap in minutes is what turns a radar hit into an enforceable line on the map. Our North Strong and Free, the 2026 Arctic Foreign Policy Update tied to NORAD modernization, makes that point directly, framing Northern sovereignty around enhanced surveillance and fighter presence. This Arctic response reality, defined by hypersonic timelines and the struggle to see far enough, fast enough, is where the procurement decisions we make today yield their long-term dividends. By investing now in sovereign capabilities, whether partnership in a next-generation engine or a fleet of aircraft Canada fully controls, Canada builds leverage that lasts for decades. That leverage changes the terms of our relationship with our most important ally. Instead of remaining a junior partner dependent on American assets to see and act in our own north, Canada becomes a more powerful ally with unique, non-substitutable Arctic capabilities. With assets we control, we move from merely implementing NORAD modernization plans to helping set their parameters, what gets prioritized, where, and on whose terms. So this entire debate about engines, source code, and industrial benefits distills down to a single stark choice. Do we continue as an integrated but dependent partner, or do we act as a sovereign middle power that uses its own technology and its own geography to secure its interests and amplify its influence? Which path we choose will define our place in the world for the next 50 years. Those two paths aren't a hot take. They fall out of a pattern we can now see clearly. We began by accepting the status quo, the comfortable narrative of alliances and integrated systems. For a time, it held. But then we witnessed the quiet shift, a disruptive engine technology emerging from the UK, independent of the primary system, and a Swedish fighter proving true interoperability, puncturing the myth that it's technically impossible. That's the pattern. Consensus and disruption, but new choice. Therefore, a frame you can reuse for tech sovereignty decisions. This was never truly about a fighter jet. It's about Canada deciding what kind of country it intends to be inside future defense and technology ecosystems. The first path is seamless integration at the cost of dependence. We operate in an architecture where another nation holds the critical controls. The second path is that of a sovereign middle power. It uses strategic procurement not just as a purchase, but as a tool to build its own industrial strength, foster its own innovation, and contribute to alliances on our own terms. This decision sets a trajectory. It's a question of physics as much as politics. Once you commit to one architecture, the balance of speed, reach, and control locks in like a flight path through a narrow re-entry corridor, hard to change mid-flight. If this framework for thinking about sovereignty and technology was valuable to you, consider subscribing for more analysis that goes beyond the headlines. And let's continue the conversation in the comments.